it's your boy Steve Cardenas, aka Rocky the Red Power Ranger, and you are watching Blerdography. You know what time it is.
You're now listening to BLERDKAST, presented to you by Blerdography. What's going on, everybody? It's me, Mark, and welcome back to BLERDKAST. Yay! BLERDKAST is back, and I'm here with my good friend. We met at several cons, and we've just kind of hit it off. We do the same thing. We go to cons and do press. Give it up for my guest, Carnel, Holley.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? I'm Carnel Holley from Carnel Holley Pictures. What to tell? I'm a blerd. Bruce Lee's my hero. So I like martial art and anime. I do acting. You know what I'm saying? So if you Google Carnel Holley, I pop up and you see stuff that I've done. Been doing things for a minute in the film indie side. You could say that I'm Atlanta's own Black Panther. What? So yeah.
Explain that one. What do you mean? How you Atlanta's own Black Panther?
Atlanta's own Black. Well, shoot, you know what I'm saying? Like Throwback Studios put me on with the whole cosplay community because it was one of those things where at the time Eric Green, who I think I mentioned Java earlier, Java Green, also no relation, who let me borrow his communicator for the Power Ranger short. But I kind of broke into the indie fan films with a Star Wars fan film. And from there, we went into the X-Men web series where I originally played Gladiator. So I think I might be the first live action version of Gladiator, but I ended up getting cast as T'Challa in Storm's origin story, and then I went on to playing Black Panther in an Avengers type of story, which was cool. And so from there, I did the Deadpool Black Panther, if you've seen that, and I've been doing other fan films from there. So yeah. So Atlanta, I think am I the first? I want to say I'm the first. I think I am the first. I want to go ahead and say that because I've already been saying it. So
might as well.
You know what I'm saying? Like unless somebody's like, no, I'm like, but I don't recall seeing. I've seen other Black Panthers, but not in Atlanta.
Okay, well, I will definitely be sure to add links to those projects in the description. But we're not here to talk about Black Panther and Marvel, even though that's what I'm wearing. We are here to talk about Power Rangers. We're here to talk about Power Rangers. My weakness, the one thing I love above everything else. You know it to be true. You saw me at Ranger Stop and Pop, and I was a beast at Ranger Stop and Pop. I don't remember how this came about. I know how. I'm on TikTok. So I was on TikTok, and one of the guys I follow, he was just talking about his Mount Rushmore of Red Rangers. And I mostly agreed with it, but I kind of had some concerns about the young gentleman's list, so I came up with my own list. And Mr. Carnel Holley happened to follow in that thread, and we just got to talking. And here we are. We're doing a whole filler podcast about talking about a Mount Rushmore of Red Rangers. It's 30 of them. Actually, it's 31 of them to choose from. So we're gonna have to go through and pick our best, our favorite. And I'm gonna be honest, I've been thinking about this a lot too. Like you said in pre-interview, I've been thinking about this a lot. I'm sure 2, if not 3, of our Mount Rushmore picks will be the same, but I would like to just debate like why.
Yeah, I think it will be. I think one just might be different. I think because I was pretty much agreeing with your picks, and then I was thinking about some others where it would just really, it's just like, what do they bring to the table? So yeah, okay. Well, I wanna see if that is accurate.
Now I am gonna change up my my 4 picks from my original TikTok video because I do want to accurately represent each era of the show.
Mm.
So unfortunately, there's gonna be a snub, and people are not gonna like that.
Uh-oh. And you know how the fandom is. It's like, what?
Yeah, but
For
I have my reasons. I have my
okay.
reasons.
I
I
mean,
have
if you're back up with facts, it's like sometimes it's like if you're really open minded, it's like, you know, like somebody said they could beat Bruce Lee. They came with the reasoning, and I'm like, I get it. I don't like it, but I get it.
right. But before we get into the Mount Rushmore picks, and we're gonna go one by one. Since there's only four, we'll go one by one. You give your first pick, your George Washington pick. I'll give my George Washington pick, and we'll go on from there. But before we get into our picks, I just kind of want to talk about Power Rangers, just in general. Like it's been 30 plus years. The series has started and ended once and always, and Cosmic Fury has come and gone. So why not just talk about why are we such huge Power Ranger nerds, even still to this day? The show came out when we were kids, and here we are,
Right. Been on
still
the train.
talking about it.
I've been on the train since day one. Yeah. I remember like going to the school and just pretending to be a ranger. It was so crazy because like my favorite color is actually green. So and I like dragons. So when the Green Ranger showed up, I was just like, oh, that's my guy. Because my brother's favorite color, and I think it still is at the time, was definitely red. And so he got red and just so happened to be the leader. I'm like, okay. Between Billy and Zach, I favored more Zach, but it just it just wasn't like I'm not Zach. I'm not that cool. I don't dance. You know what I'm saying? And Billy, I'm like, I'm smart, but I'm not that smart. You know what I'm saying? And so it's just like placeholder. So my folks, we got my brother the Red Ranger figure. I got the Black Ranger figure. But when Green Ranger hit, I'm like, I unfortunately I never got the Green Ranger figurine due to the fact that it came with the Dragon Zord, and so I believe that was pretty expensive. So I'm like, no, you're not gonna get that. Like, I mean, they didn't say that to me. My folks didn't say that to me, but thinking back, I'm like, I get it. I wish, I got the Green Ranger with the flip head. I got that. I never did get the gold shield to stay on. I don't know if mine was defective, but you press the morpher, the head flips into the helmet.
Yeah.
So I got that. Would have preferred the what 10-inch? I think they were 10-inch, 10-inch to 12-inch. That would have been so cool.
Like you, I got into it when I was a kid. I've been on the train since day one.
Mm.
They had me at Tyrannosaurus and then morphing into red spandex. Red was my favorite color at the time, it still is. So just seeing like the Red Ranger, he's the leader. He has the coolest Zord at that time. He had the coolest Zord. He had a power sword, and like he was just badass. I was like, yeah, I fucks with this, whatever this is. And like you, when Tommy Oliver, the Green Ranger, the green with evil arc came up, I was like, oh, wait a minute, yo, was not expecting this. I'm hooked. I'm just dead on hooked. Whatever this show is going to take me, I'm there for it. Yeah, that began the whole thing. Dragon Zord all the way. I had the Dragon Zord. I had the figure that came with the Zord. I had more of the morphing action morph figures, like you said, because I also had an issue with the Green Ranger shield staying on, and my sister had like the had Trini and Kimberly, and I had the four boys. For some reason, I'm like, but she's two. She don't play with Power Rangers. She don't know what this is. I had the Dragon Zord. I never had any of the other Megazords up until Zeo, so I just had the Dragon Zord. So that was sad. But it was meant for me to play with my cousins, and we combined our Zords, and we never played together and combined our Zords. I've been hooked ever since, though. I still love this thing. But with that said, we obviously were both Zordon era from day one babies. So this is going to be a very interesting debate. So Mount Rushmore, obviously, for everyone should know what Mount Rushmore is, but if you don't know, Mount Rushmore is a United States monument in South Dakota. It's a mountain carved with four of our greatest presidents of all time. Greatest presidents of all time.
I was wondering. I was just like, I'm not hearing the. I say, okay, so we see it now because I'm just like,
yeah. I mean, like we're gonna get into it, but yeah, they're the greatest presidents of all time. and we immortalized them in rock that we took from the Native Americans, but we immortalized them in rock so people can see it for centuries to come. And we call it Mount Rushmore. There's George
Yeah.
Washington,
I would like to visit though.
Jefferson. What you said?
I would like to visit.
Who else is on the Mount Rushmore? Abraham Lincoln and one of the Roosevelts, Teddy Roosevelt. Yeah, it's Teddy. It's Teddy. Or is it Theodore?
Theodore is Teddy, right?
No, I'm thinking of Delano. I'm thinking of Delano Roosevelt. Oh my God. But it's Teddy Roosevelt, right?
Right.
Okay, cool. I failed
Did
I
you
did not fail world history.
kind of think as a, oh my goodness, it's like this is not my category. If we were, it's like put me in for pop culture, TV, movie, like
Yeah, same here, same here. Since we're talking about Power Rangers and we're gonna just stick to this episode being, which means there are gonna be other episodes. We're gonna talk about every color, but this episode is gonna be dedicated to Red Rangers. We're gonna give all the Red Rangers some love, and out of all the Red Rangers, we're gonna pick the best of the best
the best.
the best four Red Rangers of 30 years of Power Ranger history. The best of the best. Now, I'm going to break my own rules, but I'm going to explain the rules before I break them. So the rules are, or at least my rules, I'm going to aim to pick a Red Ranger from each era. So one from the Zordon era, one from Disney era, Neo Saban era, Hasbro era.
Okay.
That's my goal.
Okay.
That is impossible because of the Hasbro era and the Neo Saban era. So we're gonna have to figure something out there. Two, we are allowed to give honorable mentions to each of our four categories. However you
I
decide.
don't. Oh man, I'm probably gonna need your help on. I guess the error.
I got you. That's not a problem.
I'm just like
So yeah. So since you're my guest of honor, Mr. Carnel Holley, I'm gonna let you go first. By the way, if you guys haven't, please go check out the first episode of BLERDKAST where Mr. Carnel Holley is in it. We're doing press at AWA, and I do a little impromptu, what was supposed to be an interview that turned into just a whole podcast. Did you go back and watch that episode, or did you just go and post it?
I watched it.
Okay, what did you think? What did you think of us?
I like the I like the editing.
Really? Okay.
I liked it because I was just like because I was saying some things and it was like I did I say that? I think I did.
Yeah, there's like 10 minutes of that I cut out. But it's all good. Like, I like talking to you, so it's all good. It's all good.
Hey.
But anyway, let's just go ahead and jump into it. Since you got the Ranger gear on, you gotta go first.
You already know. You already know who's up first.
No, do I? Do I?
You do.
Are you gonna surprise me?
This wouldn't be. I think my fourth one. You're gonna be like, oh, where? You know what I'm saying? But everything falls in line. But then the fourth one, and when I it'll make sense. But I don't think you'll expect the fourth one.
Okay.
Off the top, Jason, like it just makes sense. From Austin, really, like hearing his story for his like how he got okay, because I answered a question that was a comment on the interview with Austin when I asked him about the Master Morpher, and so I was definitely not expecting the answer that he gave, but it made sense, and I'm like, okay, because I'm like
out there. And for myself, because I remember seeing a piece of that interview, and I remembered my jealousy levels like enraging, and I couldn't finish it. So give us a cliff notes of what he said.
Oh, okay. Basically, he felt that the Master Morpher was a power up that wasn't needed, and for every Red Ranger in the series, there's always a power up Granted, he did mention that he's never seen all of the Power Ranger episodes of the seasons that he was in, and he hasn't continued watching Power Rangers through other seasons. I think it was a situation where like he would meet the actor at conventions, but as far as watching their season, he was busy being a hero as a
I think he was a firefighter.
was it fire? I thought he was an EMT.
Or it might have been EMT. I can't remember.
But yes. So but the day was okay. He got the power. The power up for the very first Red Ranger is getting the Green Ranger powers. He got the shield, the Dragon Dagger, and control of the Dragon Sword, right? So so my question was, because I'm like, there hasn't been a live representation of the Omega Red Ranger powers. It's what's in the comics, but as far as a live action, there hasn't been. So that could be they bring them back and they do a Master Morpher thing. Like that could be an option, but seeing that it was never portrayed on camera, they might just like, unless they do a special and this and that. But if you include the comics, he has 3 forms, which is the Red Ranger with the Green Ranger shield, the Gold Zeo Ranger, and the Red Omega Ranger. Him with just those 2 modes would be cool. Jason takes a cake with what 5. I thought of Johnny Young Bosch. Adam does have the option of I think being the next up who had more than 2 powers.
Well, I see where you're getting at, and I've had this argument with actual cast members from the show. It really depends on how you count their power sets and their power ups, because there are people that count the Ninjetti suits to be different from their actual Ranger suits. I agree, but then they also count the metallic glitter armor as a power set too. I'm like, no, that is not it. That's just a team super. That is not a different power set.
That was all under the same. There's different modes within
the power set. Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, no. You're trying to squeeze more out of that. I'm just like, nah. But legit, RIP to my hero, Jason David Frank. He had legit 5. The best there is, the best there was, the best there ever will be. But Jason, like, man, Jason was a beast. Even if they don't do the with the Omega, which would be cool, just those 2 alone is boss. But Jason was just like I read it in the comments. It was something like he possibly was trying to make a jab at Jason. I don't know per se, but like I understood where he was coming from, but I wasn't expecting that answer. But it's like, okay, all right. But Jason teaching us how to be a leader, you know, it's like, all right, Jason is number 1, Red Ranger, Mighty Morphin Power Ranger. That's number 1.
So who and outside of Jason David Frank, Tommy Oliver, who would be like your honorable mentions? Because I'm gonna get into Tommy Oliver when I say my little
honorable mention. What's an honorable mention?
From the Zordon era. Zordon era from
Zordon.
Mighty Morphin to
Where
I want to say
Zordon?
Zordon era is from Mighty Morphin to I want to say Lost. It's from Lightspeed Rescue, because then Wild Force is officially the start of the Disney era. So yeah, you got from oh man, that's hard because Lightspeed Rescue would be one of my okay. All right, you got the Disney era from Mighty Morphin to Lightspeed Rescue. So there you go.
Because I think if I might be confused because I'm trying not to give away The one at the I'm from every era. I can't do that. I can't do that. I
I know it's gonna be
let
hard.
let me just give one honorable mention. My honorable mention, I might have to give it to I'm gonna go with Ninja Storm. I'm gonna go with Ninja Storm.
That's not in the Disney. I mean, in the Zordon era. That's
Right.
Disney.
Because I can't give because if I'm thinking correctly, it's probably going to give away where I'm at on
Okay,
the
I got you. I got you. All right. So, my first pick, and I can't believe I'm finna say this. I'm already breaking my own rules.
mm,
Because obviously I picked Jason Lee Scott, Austin St. John as my number one in the TikTok video. But because you
mm-hmm.
picked him first,
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to go with my runner up for that position because I had him as number two anyway. So I might as well just make him number one. Again, I agree with you. Jason, Austin St. John deserves to be number one. He was the first Red Ranger,
Mm.
technically, chronologically, even though technically he wasn't the first Red Ranger if you go timeline of the actual Power Ranger stuff. But that's
Oh,
the huge digression. He was the first
I
one we
did.
saw on
If you want
screen.
I never finished Cosmic Fury. I don't know if that's I didn't finish it. I don't know.
We'll
I've
get
seen
into
some
that.
stuff, and I'm trying not to. I'm trying not to spoil anything. I'm trying to get through Sentai. Q Ninja. I have 10 episodes left before I'm done with that, which is an interesting series in comparison to Mighty Morphin. I'm like, oh wow.
Okay. Well,
Zeo is Zeo Ranger. Zeo Ranger.
yeah, Zoo Ranger. That's the Sentai. But yeah, Jason was first. He taught us how to be a leader. Yes. He left and he came back and he taught us how to be an extra ranger and still lead by not leading. That whole thing. I'm gonna go Tommy Oliver for my George Washington pick, my number one pick. Because
Okay.
one, he's the only Red Ranger to be Red Ranger twice,
Mm,
technically speaking.
mm,
Two, he's been five complete Rangers. He's been leader both as red and as white, but since we're only talking about Red Ranger, I'm going Zero Ranger 5 Red for my George Washington pick, Tommy Oliver, just for those reasons alone. He went from being evil to good, and then
mm-hmm.
went from being good to a member of the team, being the extra ranger, the sixth ranger, and then he went from green to white, and then from white to being the leader as the White Ranger, and then from white to red as Zeo Red, and then Turbo Red, and then coming back as a mentor slash ranger. So he came in to fill in the Zordon role and still be an additional ranger to the Dino Thunder team. So I hate saying it because
That's pretty.
he's consistently my second best favorite ranger of all time. But just out of just fairness, just like look at the facts. Look at the resume. Look at what Jason David Frank meant to the entire series. Because without
Mm.
Jason David Frank, I don't think Power Rangers last nearly 30 years. I don't think it gets out of the first 3 or 4 seasons without having him there and just seeing that presence that he brought. And like
I mean, he brought him back. I mean,
yeah, they
I
brought him back too.
like
Yeah, they brought him back in the Disney era. So like
yeah,
clearly
uh,
he meant something.
Brad Hawkins. So Brad Hawkins, the when I did the interview, when we did the interview with Brad, and I asked him about him being, he was cast as a White Ranger, but he mentioned Jason David Frank was supposed to go to what inevitably was called VR Troopers. They were just like he's putting up too much. He's putting up big numbers. We need him for this, even though in the series, in the Sentai, the Green Ranger dies. Spoiler: he loses his powers. But I'm just like, well, we going. They ended up using the White Ranger, which they should have. I would have loved. Which is the Thunder Zords. If they had because the White Ranger's suit is from the Thunder Zord, and if they would have went with it instead of staying with Mighty Morphin Zeo Ranger suits. He mentioned just like they just switched it. I'm just like, no, this is a business call. like we need Jason David Frank back. We need him back. I'm sorry, even though you were going to be the White Ranger. It's like, well, we'll give you your own show. Yeah, check it out on the channel. Check it on the channel. But that just shows you just like he was a crucial element to the franchise, and they kept him as long as they could. And like, I guess if he's willing to come back, it's like, hey, like put him in this, put him in that.
Yeah. And not only was he supposed to go and be the lead in VR Troopers and I guess be a separate character, because there were rumors that they were going to eventually put them in the same universe like they did eventually with Mash Rider.
Right.
But he also did the pilot for Cybertron, which never went to air. But it was another tokusatsu, I think, Metal Hero show that Saban had the rights of at the time. And they was going to turn it into like a version of VR Troopers, but Tommy was, and I've seen the footage. It's on YouTube. You go look it up.
Right.
I'll put it in the description here. It's like it's so weird. It's so cringy seeing it. But like, yeah, he was gonna be one of the Cybertron men, but they end up using the Cybertron suit for I think the second season of VR Troopers because they didn't have enough footage to make a full 2 seasons out of their Metal Heroes footage from that.
No. They used what Ryan Steele became. They used that suit, but they used the blue one for season 2, which was from another, because there wasn't a lot of footage for that they had the same amount of as the Super Sentai.
Right.
The heroes, they were mixing and matching and just like space it out, but they were just running out of footage, and the older stuff just didn't look good.
Yeah, because the series they was using from like I think 86 and 87, this is like 94 at this point where they're trying to expand the Power Rangers universe and copy the formula of Power Rangers because it was so successful. But it never really took off. Like they kind of did it with VR Troopers. They really hit a stride with Beetleborgs, but even with that, they ran into the situation where the show is so popular, but yet they ran out of footage that they could use for that because the show only lasted 1 season in Japan, and you can't stretch that more into more stuff, which is why they got the metallic armor, and then the B Fighter B armor, stuff like that. But like the next series of Metal Heroes from what they was using for Beetleborgs turned really kiddish, and they didn't want to use those suits and things like that for the 98 Metal Hero series or B Fighter J series. I can't remember what it was. But yeah, all this is fascinating. I can't believe like we're still nerds and we just knew all that off the top of our heads. But yeah, those are my reasons why Jason David Frank, aka Tommy Oliver, is my number one. As rightfully he should be. Personally, he's not my number one, he's just number 2. But for this podcast, he's number 1. And my honorable mentions from the Zordon era, I'll give obviously Austin St. John, the first ever Red Ranger, gets the first honorable mention. But since you picked him first, I had to go with my second pick. And who else I got to give from the Zordon era? TJ. I can't remember the actor's name, but TJ, he definitely gets an honorable mention.
Ward.
It's like it starts with an S, like Swami.
Yes, Suwin.
Yeah, there you go, Suwin. But yeah, he gets an honorable mention, and I should put him last. He should actually be on the list. But Andros, I'm gonna give Andros an honorable mention from the Zordon era because he killed Zordon. I don't think any other Red Ranger in the entire series, especially from the Zordon era, would have the balls to do something like that.
Dang, I mean, it's almost like one of those moments. I don't know if you ever watched Roughnecks, the animated series from Starship Troopers.
Sounds familiar.
It was his, man, I remember like it was yesterday. It was this moment where it becomes Rico's Roughnecks and he becomes the leader of the team. But his mentor was basically pinned down, and Rico couldn't save him, and he said like let go, son. You know what I'm saying? His father figure, and he blew himself up. But I was like that whole, let go, son. And it's like, no. And And basically, you know, it was the same moment with Zordon saying like, you got to do it because you doing this, if you sacrificing me, will cleanse the universe, type of situation. And it's like, you can't save me, like you know, this is the best option. And I remember that swinging, yeah, and then he slices the tube, and he let you know in that lower stance. So it's like, oh, man, that's wild. Dang.
All right, let's get into number two.
My number two is your number one.
Okay.
So I mean, Tommy becoming, I mean, well, he was a Red Ranger twice, but so I guess we're going with Zeo because definitely in Zeo with Forever Red too. Well, no, that's there needs to be a Red Ranger Forever Red too. But in Forever Red, Red Zeo Ranger, Tommy is my second pick for Red Rangers. Jason taught him how to be a leader because he was the lone gun, the big gun when they needed help. Seeing that not title change, but I guess more so a title change. But like when it came to Zeo and Jason came back as the Gold Ranger, as the Sixth Ranger, and they got to see each other in their point of view, like, okay, this is how he felt when he was a Green Ranger, and this is how Jason felt when he was a Red Ranger, and now I'm the Red Ranger, and like he taught me how to be a leader. It's like, yeah,
That's
like,
a good point. That's a really good point.
but I mean, we all know Tommy. Tommy, Red Zeo Ranger is my number two.
Now, I will say this about Tommy and his second Red Ranger form, Turbo Red. So we know halfway through the Turbo season, they basically switch cast. They switch out 4 Rangers with another 4 Rangers.
Right.
That's where we get TJ Cassie, Carlos, and I forgot the other one.
Yeah, let me some
Join
casting.
Cassie,
Pink
right?
Ranger.
And they the Pink Ranger, and they join Justin, the Blue Ranger, and take over from the former cast, the characters we well, I don't want to say because all of them replaced other Rangers except Tommy. Tommy was the only original
So,
from the original first season that was there.
right.
But
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
said all that to say this. I like the second Turbo team a little bit better than the first Turbo team because
I go
that
with that.
Turbo, I just got tired of seeing Jason David Frank just
Dang, you
be
got
the star of the
tired?
show. Yeah, I got tired of it. I legit got tired of it. I'm like, is he going to be in college and be a Power Ranger? Is that where they're going?
Uh,
Oh, they switched him up. All right.
he became a professor, and he was the Black Ranger. So I mean, it's levels
Yeah,
to it.
that's great for all behind the scenes storyline stuff, but we'll get into that towards the end of the show. All right, so I'm gonna go. This should be the Disney era for me, but again, I'm gonna break my own rules. Because there's a lot of great Red Rangers in the Zordon era. Like we just are number one and number two can be interchangeable
Right.
if you're talking about Jason Lee Scott and Tommy Oliver. Um,
Rightfully so.
right. So I'm gonna switch it up a little bit. I'm gonna pick a second Red Ranger from the Zordon era. Yeah, it's Andros. I'm gonna pick Andros for the simple fact that I said for my honorable mentions for Andros, he killed Zordon. He also killed his entire first team. Got them killed and had to learn that lesson. Yes.
Yeah, I was gonna because I was trying to remember. I don't know if it was I know I saw a YouTube video of some sort where it's just like, you know, what happened to his original team, and I think it was in the comics, and then with the Silver Ranger having to be in stasis to because he was in a coma or whatnot, but yeah, that's a good pick. Andros.
So, God, what's the actor's name? I can't remember his name off the top of my head right now. You think I would just get my phone on my tablet? I'm still live on TikTok. Nobody's watching, but I'm still.
Right.
What is his name? But anyway, at Ranger Stop and Pop, 2019, it was the first one they did in Atlanta. They did the Ranger After Dark panel, it was, and he was the only Ranger there for like the first half of it until he got sick. And he brought that question into my head. I never thought about it. Well, I thought about it, but I never thought about it in a way that he explained it. He just asked the audience. By the way, Andre Meadows was the host for that. I can't believe Black Nerd Comedy was the host for the first After Dark panel of Ranger Stop and Pop. So that was like hugely impressive and important. I got to meet him and then be shy walking next to him on the way out of the panel.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he said, we never find out what happens to the In Space Rangers, the first team, where it was all 6 of them from
This happened to be the amount that needed to fill the next team. It was like
right. Yeah. And he just was like, so in his mind, he came up with the theory that he killed his team. He went off looking for his sister because of Dark Spectre took his sister, X, Y, and Z. So he went off and basically forced his team to go look for his sister, confront Dark Spectre, and was a bad leader, pushing his team into battles that weren't ready. They weren't ready for it and got his entire team killed, put Zane, the Silver Ranger, into a coma because medically he was about to die, so he couldn't lose everybody, and went off to Earth to try to get help from Zordon because he knew about Zordon and saw, the end of what happened to the Turbo Rangers with Divatox and saw the Turbo team go into space, and then he recruits them. And from that moment, he's on redeeming himself, a redemption arc of being a good leader and doing what it takes to be a good Red Ranger. And that's concluded by getting his not only dealing with TJ and their leadership issues, because that it wasn't prevalent, but you saw that TJ went from being red to blue, and TJ was like, hey, I was the leader of the team. This is what we did.
right.
But Jones is like, hey, no, this is my team. This is my power set. This is how we're going to do things. And TJ ended up being a good second in command. They saved Corone, defeated Andromeda, saved Corone, defeated Dark Spectre, team up the Ninja Turtles, team back up with Justin, the Blue Turbo Ranger. The Psycho Ranger arc was fucking phenomenal.
Was
Still one of my favorite arcs in Power Ranger history. And then Countdown to Destruction, which was supposed to be the series finale of Power Rangers, like Chef's Kiss. That's still to this day probably the best season finale for Power Rangers ever, season ever. And he kills Zordon. He hesitates, but he's like, you know what? You're right. All this is because of you. So you die. And he just went back and was like, yeah, I killed Zordon. I saved the day. And just went off in the sunset. That was it.
Dang. That's funny.
And I guess I have to give my honorable mention for number 2. Carter, the Red Ranger from Lightspeed Rescue. Phenomenal leader. He's a phenomenal leader, but it's too many strong candidates above him in the Zordon era. And to be honest, I kind of count him more in the Disney era anyway, but we're going to get to that with my number 3 pick.
Okay. Number 3.
But before we do that, and since we're winging this because I don't have an actual outline for this episode, since we're talking about the best of Red Rangers, we got to bring up the worst of Red Rangers.
The worst of the worst Red Rangers?
Yes. There are some. There are some honorable mentions. Nope, we're going to get into that. Out of 30 seasons of Power Rangers, we got a Red Ranger for every season. None of them really repeat.
That's funny.
Except Tommy. So we got 29 Red Rangers, technically, but still 30 because it's 2 different power sets. You have the SPD Red Ranger from the A Squad. You have Lauren from Samurai. And you have Eric, who is the Time Fire, the Quantum Ranger. So technically, there are 33 Red Rangers. Actually 34, because I keep forgetting about Steven Cardenas, as you rightfully should.
See the Power Ranger fan film when he played Rocky in the fan film, and it's just like, man, I get that, because I'm just like, yo, the Red Ranger is the leader. How is this White Ranger the leader of the team? That's not,
it was Tommy. It was Jason David.
No, I know, but the way that they Saban had the creative team to make it that way. I wonder if there was a way that, because they just grabbed from the next season and using the White Ranger suit to even though it's from the Thunderzord. I'm trying not to get too far into the weeds in the headcanon. But
Well, I can tell you this. One reason why they went ahead and used the White Ranger suit from Die Ranger and just add them with the Zoo Ranger suits from Mighty Morphin was because out of all the Die Ranger suits, the White Ranger suit was closest resembling the Zoo Ranger suits.
right.
Like with just the overall pattern and stuff, and then
You and you
with the shield, like you can cover up the diamond pattern with the the White Ranger shield. It
uh-huh.
looks so similar enough, even though there was
Right.
actually no
I
black
get
diamond underneath the shield.
but it seemed like they could have possibly have done something to where the coins get crushed, which forces them to have to use the Die Ranger suits.
Well, eventually they did do that in season 3 to get to Zeo. That's what they did. But remember, like Power Rangers, the first season was such a huge hit. They
Right.
wanted to change up the brand, and they thought at the time if we changed the suits and the toys, the kids wouldn't get it and blah blah blah. So they
Right.
opted out of that, changing the suits up after every season, like the Sentai does. So that's
Mm-hmm.
why the first 3 seasons you get dinosaurs, then Thunderzords, then Ninjazords, and they all still have the same suits. Just like variations of that, and it was cheaper to produce that
Because they were
on a production standpoint too. And then on top of that, they had the Zoo 2 footage that people often forget about, where they created extra footage of Zoo Ranger that never aired in Zoo Ranger for Power Rangers.
and I get it. I mean, from because usually we're always thinking. I mean, as a fan, we think from the fan's point of view. I mean, I have conversations with Marvel, and it's just like why don't they have this character? Because they get to the $1 billion mark. This is with show business, the business side. They get to the $1 billion mark because majority of the people watching are not the diehard comic book fans. Like I to be honest, like I knew the cartoons, and a buddy of mine at the time who was a avid comic book reader would always tell me it's just like the cartoons they'll go off script, like everything that happens in the cartoons doesn't always happen in the comics. In the comics is the source material. So I'm like, oh, okay. I get it. I get it. So with the characters, like how come we're not seeing variations of these other characters because they look so similar to the main ones that it's like the non-avid comic book enthusiasts would know and would get confused, and they're trying to limit that. So I'm just like, okay, got to put your producer hat on for this. With the Power Rangers, it's like, okay, I get it. They're making money, almost like a Tyler Perry situation, where it's just like the return with keeping the budget low. Like any filmmakers, you know what I'm saying, got to know how to budget. You can't. I've been on a project before where too many characters were put into production. Costumes were it exceeded it where it could have been better if you. I got the reasoning behind it, why that decision was made, but it was a poor decision that should have been limited to where you could have put more money into the production for the costumes, which would have looked better and all this and that. But life lessons.
Right. Life lessons. But anyway, let's get into the worst of the Red Rangers, and then we can move on to the last two because we still have a whole nother episode to record after this.
Right. The worst of the worst. You know what? It's funny. I guess the worst of the worst. I guess I'm going off of fan, which I because I don't think I've ever watched all of it, but the Red Ranger from Super Mega Force, like I mean the more so he was like one dimensional or something like that.
Yeah.
And
He's automatically just the worst by just default from Super Mega Force and Mega Force.
dang,
But there's still a few other ones I want to bring up. So there's Mac, I think his name is Mac from Operation Overdrive. He was an android.
I I didn't dislike that's I thought the twist was interesting. So I mean I got it. I think that might be the saving grace, but
No, I think that made it worse because, like, to me, from the up until that twist where his face fell off and it was revealed he was a cyborg or an android, I was like, he's really immature and childish for a
Mhm,
leader, for a Red Ranger.
right.
And then after the reveal, I'm like, well, what's the point of programming him to be a child and also he's the Red Ranger? But he's not real. Like you could have just programmed him to be a strong leader and just been done. I mean, to fact,
Well,
if he's an Android, why weren't the rest of them freaking androids? Why did you need to
no, because
specifically go
the
get
thing,
a thief and a race car driver and who I forgot who the other people was and an alien to be your Ranger team?
I mean, the Odd Couple. I mean, the if I'm remembering right, it was more so in a situation where he wanted a son, him,
Yeah,
you know, but then at the same time, I don't know if it would be along the lines of privilege, but I mean, if you're the trying to not create a situation where it's just if your child is deserving of this position, maybe not right off, but still having the possibility of earning it, you know, through trials and tribulations and stuff like that. And I'm just like obviously I'm like, yeah, I could have programmed him, but him being I want to be a real boy. So
yeah,
you know,
that's what I got from that. I just got nothing but Pinocchio. I want to be a real boy vibes, which never came to fruition. After he
but he
was
wanted
a
you
robot,
know,
he just
him
remained a
not
robot.
having a biological son, and I think I think this is headcanon, but the reasoning behind him for his research, him going on these adventures, having the opportunity to have someone that's not real and putting them in dangerous situations, that you still have that safety net, like, well, he's not real, but still having that mindset of like, okay, this is my son, this is my child, but you know, if anything happened, I could just fix him. I'll just fix him, you know, and then we'll go on that adventure again, Venture Brothers type of scenario. Johnny Quest makes you think of Johnny.
That's hogwash. For me, just as a fan, Power Rangers has always been a story about teenagers with attitude,
Mm.
human teenagers with attitude who are blessed
Primitive.
with gifts to go
Mm-hmm.
up against extreme odds, face extreme dangers, using this year's magical source, whatever it may be, or technological source to give them powers.
Right.
It's a cop out to
We're all teenagers.
replace, especially the leader. It's one thing if it's just another ranger, like when they did it in Beast Morphers. I'm fine with one of the rangers being a robot and then turning into a real human or whatever.
Mm.
Um, but not the leader. And I didn't realize I felt this way until like the whole thing about the Sentai and
Mm-hmm.
how their Red Ranger, they will always have a Red Ranger be the leader and they be the representation of Japan. Um, and that's what I realized, like, oh, I got that like privileged mindset that my Red Ranger has to be X, Y, and Z and whatever. I still don't like Mac as a character. I don't like a lot of things about Operation Overdrive. I love Gogo Sentai Bokanger. Love that Sentai. But I cannot stand Operation Overdrive and how they did it. But
Mm.
you said it first. Mac is not the worst Red Ranger. He's the second worst. For the longest time, he was the worst. But the worst is absolutely Jake from Mega Force and Super Mega Force. Just wait, is that his name? Right? No, Jake was the Black Ranger. What was his name? The Red Ranger from Megaforce and Super Megaforce, whatever his name was, absolute worst. Troy, there you go. Troy, like you said, he's one-dimensional. Just how they did Megaforce and Super Megaforce production-wise didn't make sense because they should have been two separate seasons, especially if you're leading Super Megaforce up to be this super duper anniversary season, which it was in the Sentai, the 35th season. They butchered that completely.
Bumble.
A lot of it suffered.
Oh, that part. And I saw some of the Sentai when they did the crossover. I think I'm gonna end up watching the Sentai series of just like, oh, we need our powers back. I'm like, I don't blame you. And then all of a sudden they switch off and start fighting each other, which was so cool. And
yeah, I have a clip of it on my
that's so hard. But you wouldn't be able to do that with the blade. Well, would you not with the blade blaster? Because you gotta have to. And then if you were Jason and you still had the power sword, and you could do that. So yeah. I'm geeking. And then just also, it's crazy how when in the Super Sentai when they got those blasters that. When in the Mighty Morphin, Tommy and Jason had to get, and they were facing off against Titanus, and it's just like like I got you got stronger legs, so but you like take my shield, and but they don't use it after that. But in the Super Sentai, they continue to use it. I'm just like, yeah, because the whole story behind you gotta watch the Super. I mean,
I've seen Zurang.
But I'm just like, yo, this is like isekai, and like they went on these adventures and still use their power ups to So I still have 10 more episodes, so I need to get through that. So worst the worst. So just
said Mac and Troy.
Okay.
And I was going off on why Troy was the worst. And I got one more, and it's gonna be people are gonna hate it, but it's Jaden Shiba from Samurai.
I see where you go with that.
All right, where am I going? Where am I going?
I mean, he reminds me of not completely, but he does seem to be in the same vein as dang, what's the actor's name? The one from Super Megaforce. She said Troy?
Yeah,
Troy. I mean, he was one dimensional to the extent that he was by the book. I mean, it seemed like he could have been on an Andros situation, but Sensei, like I'm and in the twist, I don't think I finished it to the twist with the sister and stuff, but just him like, oh, I gotta stick by the book, and I get that too, but it was like on a one note. And then when you got the Gold Ranger and you're understanding like you can't be a ranger and this and that, but he had that super speed.
Yeah, I didn't really get that either.
And they're friends.
The conflict from the Sentai, from what I remember. But yeah, I agree with you. Jaden Shiba, he was one dimensional, always got to do things by the book and honor and family and all this and that, and just kind of hardcore in that regard. But for me, it's not even that. Because I can forgive all that. For me, it's that Saban in that instance missed out on a huge opportunity because you gotta look at the situation of it all. Super Power Rangers Samurai came up after the franchise being on hold for 2 years. The previous season of Power Rangers was RPM, which was built up to be another series finale type of thing, which that should be an episode for a video topic for another episode. Power Ranger finales and ranking them like that. There we go. There it is. 2 years go by. We get stuff from the Sentai. We get Shikanger. We get Goseiger. We get Gokaiger. And then finally we get Power Rangers Samurai. Something I never thought they would do. I honestly thought that if they were to do this, they would skip over it because it's too Japanese to be done in America because they have kanji on the helmets. They only done that every one other time with the Gold Ranger in Zeo, but like you didn't know it was kanji. for King.
Hmm.
I didn't know that until I started like watching the Sentai. I was like, oh,
Yeah, and then
oh,
the
really?
that
But
you
yeah,
know what? Yeah, that's hot. I didn't realize that, and it makes sense. And then he gets the staff out of his face.
yes,
That's
yes.
cool.
But yeah, so I thought they would never do samurai. And when they announced that they were doing it, I was like, oh, cool. They're gonna have like a Japanese Red Ranger. That
Right.
makes sense with what they're doing. They like because let's talk about the adaptation of Samurai versus Shikanger.
Asian.
Shikanger is one of my favorite Sentai seasons. It's super Japanesey, symbol
Uh-huh.
power. They just paint kanji in the air with their morphers, the
Hmm.
shigophones, their origami zords. I love everything about Shikanger, but there was a translation issue between Shikanger and Power Rangers Samurai. And Power
Mm,
Rangers Samurai appears to be so tone deaf to also be a series that finally honors the roots of Power Rangers, and that's being Japanese. And it's so tone deaf.
mm.
You don't learn any Japanese watching it, which you would think if they're like Americans doing symbol power and stuff, then maybe they'll teach us some Japanese. There's none of that. You missed the opportunity of having two Japanese Red Rangers. Like you should have cast Japanese, even if you cast Korean actors and you just made their character Japanese. That made
Right.
me because his last name is Shiba, and his mentor, like whatever, that's dumb. The twist with the sister, that's the same from the Sentai. They copied and pasted that.
Mm.
So it wasn't even a surprise when they did it. I'm just like, oh, you still stuck with blonde hair, blue eyes American people to be
I mean, I get the reasoning behind not having an Asian Red Ranger per se, because the American representation of the Sentai, instead of it being like I guess a copy and paste and like, oh, they speak English type of situation. I mean, I can go with that per se, and then later on we have representation of we have a Hispanic, Pacific Islander, African American. So I mean, it started to diversify, but we have yet to have an Asian Red Ranger.
no, we've had Ninja Storm. He's Indian.
Right.
I'm thinking. You got me
No,
thinking.
he right.
Yeah, he's Indian. Yeah, Shane from Power Rangers Ninja Storm, he's Indian.
Meaning more so
Asian, you mean?
right.
Okay.
Because I'm like, I feel like I'm about to walk on some eggshells because I'm just like, because I'm
Yeah, this is the eggshell time. But technically, there's been an Asian Red Ranger, Shane
right.
from Ninja Storm.
Right.
But I get where you mean. You
Representation. I
want
mean,
East
Jazz.
Asian,
I didn't know he was he's Indian, correct?
right?
From Beast Morphers. Man, I did
Yeah, the Blue Ranger from Beast Morphers is also,
right.
or Pakistani. I can't remember.
They I was looking at the analytics on I mean, for the Power Ranger stuff. The top videos are the Beast Morpher and his separate video. I was like, well, shoot, I still got one more interview from Beast Morphers. I need to post that. I've been, but I need to get that up. But
That's kind of funny you said that because my highest viewed video still to this date is my Beast Morphers interview with Jazz and Rory Travis from Ranger Stop and Pop 2022 or 2021, I think. That's still my highest grossing most viewed video. So they're very popular characters.
but
But all right,
yes,
let's get back into the Mount Rushmore because we got two more to go, and we still
right.
have a whole other episode to shoot before my next interview at 10 o'clock. So we
Shoot.
got some time.
Number three is TJ. TJ going back to Forever Red, like him replacing Tommy. You know what I'm saying? Like like if you're gonna replace such a beast of a ranger, you know this guy has some big shoes to fill, and he filled them. He filled them and made history doing it. So I'm like, all right, TJ, I see you. I still have I have yet to interview him, but he is my number three. What he accomplished with him as a ranger, knowing that he replacing such a great ranger, it's like, yo, this is he did his thing. He did his thing. He did his job as leader. I'm trying to think of any solo moments. I think it was when he was getting the Megazord back, that battery. I think that was when they were
I
using
remember that. Yeah.
the Phantom Ranger energy source. They fighting on it. Yeah. He's number three.
All right. I like TJ.
Mm,
He's not my number three. But I do want to say something about TJ that I really like about him.
okay.
Not only is he's the first black Red Ranger, first African American Red Ranger, he's the first Red Ranger and the first Ranger team to technically flat out lose. Like they flat out lost to Divatox. And he handled failure and defeat so well as a leader, leading them into space and them getting their in space powers.
Right.
And then just being a great Blue Ranger and being a good second in command and not letting his ego get the best of him and helping that team succeed in all their enemies attacks with the Psycho Rangers and Andromeda, Dark Spectre, and all that stuff. So to go from replacing some of the greatest Rangers in franchise history to leading a team for the first time and just doing what he did, like huge kudos to TJ. A lot of, like you said, big shoes to fill. But my number three, and for me, I'm in the Disney era now. I'm in the Disney era now. There's a lot of great Red Rangers in the Disney era to choose from. Like so many. Like it's 7 seasons in the Disney era. 6 of them are fire seasons, and 5 of them deserve to be in this spot. All 5 of these Rangers are kind of interchangeable between Jungle Fury, RPM, SPD, Mystic Force, Ninja Storm, Dino Thunder. I'm gonna say Lightspeed Rescue. Operation Overdrive doesn't count because clearly I covered that in the worst Red Rangers already, so they're excluded. But out of all of the Disney era show seasons, I'm still sticking with Jack from SPD for the same reason from TikTok videos. He didn't want it. He was approached as a thug and a criminal, and kind of discarded as that by the other members of the team, especially the Blue Ranger. But then once he was convinced to take on the leadership role and be the Red Ranger, he showed out. He showed out, and he had the best civilian power. Yeah, I just gotta give it to Jack. Like, I mean, you can make arguments for Casey, you can make arguments for Carter, you can make arguments for Nick, you can make arguments for all of these Disney era Rangers. Scott, what's his name? Scott, RPM Red Ranger. You can make arguments for all of them. I'm just gonna pick Jack for the simple fact he came in, he was on standing on business the entire
Mhm.
time. And when it was done, he hung up the morpher and gave it to Blue Ranger, and he skipped 2 rocks and went to go save orphans and was like, I'm good.
My number four is hold on, trying to is Eric the Quantum Ranger. Now I
I'm
thought
so
of
happy you picked him.
Eric because Eric came in. It felt like he was coming in on some Green Ranger, evil Green Ranger energy, but he
I
was good.
100% agree. But he wasn't evil at all. Like,
Right.
and that's I wish I could ask Dan Southworth this question. It's because we should have did this last year when we had him in front of us.
Oh my
But
goodness.
no, go ahead.
Timing. Dang, because it was a juggling act. If you were in the room, you would know. But hindsight 2020. I feel like Eric was like on some like some Green Ranger Six Ranger, which was technically the first time that there were two Red Rangers on a team. Eric was a beast. I liked.
Wait, because Time Force came before Ninja Storm, right? Or did Ninja Storm come, or did Time Force come after Ninja Storm?
Time Force came before Ninja Storm.
Okay, okay. Did
Because
yeah,
I thought
Ninja
about
Storm was in
like
between
there
Istin
was
and Dino Thunder.
the Alien Rangers, but they weren't on the same team. So there were two Red Rangers in a season, but as far as just like if we're splitting hairs, the first time two Red Rangers being on the same team, Time Force. I liked Eric. Eric was a beast. Eric, he was reminiscent Tommy for me as a as a Ranger per se. I liked his. I mean, he was about duty, and him respecting Wes's dad as a father figure and feel like you're just a pampered son, and it's like this is my like his father had two sons, honorary son, but yeah, and then he got that power that Wes is rounds out my four, my Mount Rushmore. Eric is my guy.
Okay. I like Eric. I agree. He definitely gave like evil energy without being evil. I won't say like Tommy Oliver type of presence, but he definitely gave that, hey, I pulled myself up from my bootstraps and I got to where I am.
Mm-hmm.
And we both want the same thing. We just want them in different ways. You want to go off and do your own thing and kind of be more of a free spirit and help the poor and things like that with Wes. And Eric was, no, I'm gonna take charge. I'm gonna do what needs to be done. I don't mind shooting a bad guy or doing what I gotta do. Little collateral damage. We finna get the job done. And he kind of had that like bounty hunter mentality, I feel like, when it
Mm-hmm.
came to the team, but he definitely had that loner spirit, which, from the Sentai, it's a trope. Sometimes, there's Six Rangers, they'll just be loner types and they won't necessarily be a part of the team, but they're still a good guy. Or they were evil and then they became good and they're still a loner type. That's such a Sentai trope, but it was done very well in Time Force. Even though I don't like Time Force as a season, I do like Eric and the dynamic between him and Wes once he was introduced. Time Fire. I love that. All right, so I'm gonna give I gave Jack my number 3. My number 4, I'm gonna go Hasbro Neo Saban era. I'm gonna combine the two. And I'm gonna be honest, there's not a lot of greatness in those two eras to pick from. It's not a lot of greatness. I don't particularly like any one of the Neo Saban or Hasbro era seasons. My favorites will have to be Beast Morphers, but there's a huge asterisk on that. And then Dino Fury and Cosmic Fury, but again, asterisks on both of those seasons also. I don't want to just be like, oh, I'm giving this spot because in the TikTok video, I gave my 4th spot to Amelia because she's the first Red Ranger, female Red Ranger to lead a team.
Right. I was gonna
Um,
honorable mention, but I didn't. It just seemed like I don't know if it feeling like it was a throwaway. I haven't seen again. I haven't seen the series, and so would have been interesting to before this to see how everything unfolded for her to have gotten those powers, but.
So I'm really on the fence for my number 4 because, like I said, I would give it to Amelia, but I feel like I would be forcing myself to give it to Amelia, for the simple reason that I just wanted to see more of her as the Red Ranger. I like what they did. I just wanted to see more from Cosmic Fury to be like, okay, this 100% cements her as a Red Ranger because I feel like she made a lot of egregious errors as a Red Ranger, and they just in Cosmic Fury were rushing to just end it instead of like properly developing character. So I really don't know who I can give number 4 to. I might have to go back and revisit the Disney and the Zordon era, but I feel like that's gonna be cheating too.
Right.
Give me a second. Go over your honorable mentions for number 4.
Your 4 wants to be Jack. It wants to be
Jack
Jack.
is my number 3 though.
Oh, right.
My 4th spot is gonna go to a number of different Rangers because I can't really pin down one Ranger that will be my favorite from the Neo Saban and the Hasbro era. But I'm gonna give this spot to three people
Okay.
from this era. Rory Travis, Beast Morphers Red Ranger.
Okay.
And that's just because I've actually gotten to know him as a person, like the actor. I've gotten to know him. He's a really cool dude. He's a really hood dude, so I respect that. And he's a blerd. He's really nerdy and into nerd culture. So I'm giving him that spot just because I'm personally getting to know him. I'm gonna give it to Amelia because she is the only female leader outside of Delphine that got at least 10 episodes. And I'm gonna go Zato Dino Fury Red Ranger because personal reasons. And he's actually the only Red Ranger from that entire era, those two eras that I 100% liked for the wrong reasons, for all the wrong reasons. But I'm biased. I'm gonna just say that I'm biased. But yeah, I give my fourth spot to three people.
And I mean, that's understandable.
But I will say now that we're at the end of this, this was actually really hard because like this was all going to be all Zordon era Rangers for me if I went with my first initial thoughts.
I
Or it
mean,
would all just been Zordon era and Disney era Rangers and nobody else from any other era of the show.
they have you know, the different eras do have different things to offer, but in some places, we, you know, since you've been on the train since day one, is understandable. But as a fan, when, you know, since we're a part of the older crowd of fans, we see from a different, like, I remember way back, you know, and how things have changed. But as far as the fans jumping in this point of time, like, okay, I get it. I get it. I get it.
Well, with that said, there are, like you said, there are things from each era that I like. Like from the Zordon era, I like the practical effects and the action and the actual kung fu and martial arts and both with the kids out of suits and with the suit actors in suits. And from
Mm,
the Disney era, I love the character development and the strong stories that they were telling in their seasons, and just some of the more innovative things that they were doing with the technology. Granted, it was mostly copying from the Sentai. And a lot of the Disney era seasons just straight copied the Sentai storylines, but that's fine because the Sentai was hitting stronger during that time frame. From the Neo Saban era, I like that even though it was poorly executed, I felt like Power Rangers had come home. They were doing the 20th anniversary with Super Mega Force, and I felt like, yeah, I think Saban would do a better homage to Power Rangers in its 20th anniversary than Disney would have in its 20th anniversary if they had kept the rights. But I was wrong. Saban fucked it up. The Hasbro era, I like that they were trying to make it more adult, but still follow this is for kids line.
hmm
'Cause I felt like the Neo Saban era, like from RPM, which went from young adult to teenager kind of adult level storyline with post-apocalyptic setting
hmm
to going to samurai to this is for 3-year-olds again. The tone deafness or the tone shift really took me out of Power Rangers during that time frame, and it never really recovered. Even in Dino Fury and Cosmic Fury and Beast Morphers, it never really recovered hitting those strides that it was hitting in the Disney era. And then you combine that with, oh, now it's on Netflix. Now you only got 20 episodes a season, 10 episodes for season one, and 10 episodes for a super season. And that just kind of started ruining things for me, really. Oh, a thing I like about from the Hasbro era. I like in Cosmic Fury, they did attempt to do original suits. They failed, but at least they attempted.
They tried.
They tried and failed and
Good effort.
failed miserably.
Good effort.
But
I mean, you know, the shift. It I guess it wasn't a nice shift per se, but I mean, where it's going, originality. I did post this video. It was so crazy. It's a side note. I was watching Once and Always, and she was on the couch and I was watching it, and I noticed that she was really into it. And then I picked up the phone and started recording her, and then she's just like, what are you watching, Daddy? And I'm just like, I'm trying to concentrate. I just happened to get this moment real quick, and then I'm like, all right, let me put this down. My little munchkin. A side note. I'm sorry. She needs to be a ranger like her daddy.
Since we're talking about Power Rangers, and as we know, the series has ended for now, as we know it. What were some of your favorite moments and memories over the last 30 years of being just a fan of this franchise?
Dang, favorite moments. I want to include missed moment opportunities after finding out what could have been. As a fan, I would have wanted, but it made sense. Okay. And I say that after finding out that in Lost Galaxy that Cassie was going to replace that Pink Ranger, but they went with Corone, and that made sense. But as a fan uh, of Cassie, I would have preferred to have seen her in action doing her thing. But it was like, what? Why? I get it. All right, but I would have.
I like that. I like that that Corone ended up taking
I know
the
it
place
makes
of
sense.
Kendricks.
It
It
makes
made a
story
lot of
wise.
sense.
It makes a lot of sense. It does. I get it. Yes, but I wanted Cassie, the Ranger, in that series.
I got
So,
you.
but again, like I said before, I think was this off air or before we got into the show with the SPD moment
Um,
when the chips were down and then the alien animal uh
Kruger,
uh
Commander
leader
Kruger.
came as the cavalry, and then the monkey's like "Whoop, whoop," and he was doing his thing, and then the bird with I was just like, yo, this is so hard. This was that Avengers before the end game was an end game. That was an in game situation for Power Rangers SPD. Um, but that went hard. I enjoyed the prime time. I don't think. I mean, dang, we come from a different time. I remember when they had Power Rangers, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers during prime time. This was when they had the X-Men too, during prime time. I think that was with that alien that was uh sucking souls out of the who was in that containment alien ship or whatnot. But Power Rangers, that was cool. I think majority my fondest moments would have to be during Mighty Morphin, but that SPD moment was hot. Dino Thunder was hot with the White Ranger, which was like an homage to the Green Ranger, in which it was just like, oh, I think would it be a Naruto moment with Kakashi and Sasuke, where it's just like, I was evil too. I was the Sixth Ranger. I understand. And then I gotta turn you good. That was a hot moment. I think I was saying poser for the longest during that time. It's like I don't deal with posers. I was just like, dang, all right. Like I was saying, I think a friend of mine jokingly said that to me. It's like, man, that hurt. I definitely enjoyed the Ninja Storm with the Green Samurai Ranger, which was so hard. Him being a Green Ranger, then they're gonna pull the whole. Well, it was no, because Dragon Ball was before Naruto. But when he switched to ninja mode, switching half the helmet and then taking off that weighted gold shield for him to be super fast, being my favorite color too. That they need to bring back Cam in a maybe not a forever green, but forever six ranger. Six, was it six?
That is too. They can never do a forever green. They can never do a forever green now.
No, no. Dang on it, you're right. I was thinking, but yeah, dang on it. That's kind of sour. Like, no. That's. I mean, that's what I'm. That's all I got right now that I can think of off the top. You know what's funny? Side note. When I was watching Jessica Jones, and I think at the time, I was like, why does he seem so familiar to me? Does he seem so familiar to me? And then come to find out, oh right, he's the Red Ranger from post-apocalyptic. That Red Ranger. Save me.
RPM
Yes,
Scott.
yes, but
RPM is really like underrated, I think, because I think it got a lot of backlash when it aired, but like it's a really good season.
yeah, I liked it. It's crazy how they brought him back for a crossover, but never just you just heard his voice.
Yeah, that was weird too. For me, because we're actually all the time. I got to start my next podcast with my next interview soon, so we're gonna wrap this one up.
Okay.
Some of my favorite memories from Power Rangers that I like, obviously the Green with Evil arc with Tommy Oliver coming in as the evil Green Ranger, my green evil Green Ranger, like Chef's Kiss, like not a bad episode in that 5 episode arc. Countdown to Destruction. A lot of the episodes in space of Power Rangers in space were just like phenomenal, like when you think about it. SPD stands out to me. Like it was a season I didn't think I would like because another car season and it's combined with police. Wait a minute, this is actually kind of dope. Once and always, because I never thought something like that, especially when it happened, would ever happen. So once and always, I really appreciate that. All the old actors coming back and reprising their roles, even though it's a variation of what we could have got. We were supposed to get all the original cast members,
Right.
then we didn't. And now we never can. But for what they did with that, it was still good, and I want to see another once and always. There's rumors that there's supposed to be an SPD reunion for next year, so we'll see. We'll see how that
It
goes.
it makes sense for it to go in that direction.
Right, it does. Just about every season in the Disney era was a banger, minus Operation Overdrive and just me personally, Time Force. But that's just because Time Force came out when I was in high school, and I was like, well, I'm too old to be in the Power Rangers, and nobody else my age is in the Power Rangers, or so I thought at that time.
Mhm.
And then I go into college and find those group of people that love Power Rangers, and Mystic Force is coming out, and I'm just re in it again. But yeah, SPD and no, I'm sorry, Time Force. I started to lose interest towards Time Force, like 100% lose interest, and then since then I've never came ever that close to falling out of the franchise. So yeah, the Disney era kind of both broke me and saved me. And then that was also around the time I got introduced into Kamen Rider and that wonderful world. So yeah, oh man, 2005 was the shit. But yeah, those are some of my favorite memories. I love that me and you created a platform where we get to go around and actually interview like a lot of our favorite child actors from when we were kids, our favorite actors from when we were kids, from our favorite franchises and series. Like I felt like I found like a brother from another mother in you and in JB and in Roz and everybody else that I met at Ranger Stop and I've been meeting at all these different cons and who genuinely like doing press and who take this seriously and who go out and use their platforms to not only promote themselves but other people and get the interview like so many cool people. Me and you combined have like interviewed a bunch of people. And
Mhm.
one thing I wanted to ask you just personally, because I have my favorite interview that I've done, and I'm sure you have your favorite interview that you've done. But what is your favorite, your hands down, you can't believe you got to interview this one person because of everything that you've been doing with your platform? What is that? Who was that person for you, and what interview was it?
Dang, I the funny the funny thing is it my I think as it goes through, my mindset is always like it makes sense that it happened, but I'm not surprised that it happened. I mean, it's so funny. I was telling a friend of mine the other, like, I run a lot of scenarios in my head, so I don't get surprised in when certain things, because it's just like, all right, I got to prepare for this, and you go in, you got a plan, but it's a possibility that it's not going to go as planned. But shoot, man, I can't say that I've been surprised at any of the interviews that I've I've done. Most definitely, I've enjoyed them. Except for the interviews where you don't see me on camera, seeing the moments of me really geeking out behind the camera. It's only I it might be it would sound like a cop out. There's just like they like these interviews are like my children. I can't say that I like one over the other. I've enjoyed the moments in each one that just like like man, that was an experience. I like that, and basically learning from each one to build on the next one that I do. For the fans, it's like got to keep up in my skill set, my production value, making it more entertaining for the audience. Yeah, that's how I'm feeling, because I want to say, I don't want to put this on a sour note. Crap. Because I can't say that I've interviewed any of my heroes, because pretty much all my heroes are were gone either before I was born, or I just missed opportunity. But but taking that as a teachable moment, and it being that, like, when opportunity presents itself, take advantage of it, because you don't know that you'll get that opportunity again. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So, but I enjoy what I do, and with each interview, I enjoy the experience.
For me, I'm kind of the same way. Even though I do have my favorite interview, I'm gonna get to that. But for me, like, I've interviewed celebrities, I've interviewed cosplayers. I've gotten because I've started doing photography and just having a camera that has opened up so many doors for me. And just different opportunities that I never thought like 10 years ago I would be able to do at all. Like, I've gone to like red carpet events, I've gone to cons for free to cover them as press. I've gotten into events, sporting events, all type of things, just because I had a camera and I knew what I was doing. And somebody just needed a cameraman, or they needed somebody with my skill set. So it's the moments, those moments, just being able to do this thing that I now love so much is just a huge opportunity to me. But there is one interview, it's one podcast I did. It was no celebrity guest, nobody that was famous from TV. It was just a bunch of photographers and myself from varying different degrees of skill sets, from amateur, just picked up a camera yesterday, to pro, making $10,000 an image, not even a photo shoot, but just one image, $10,000. It's the business of cosplay photography podcast. Is I did a couple episodes on that. I'm gonna go back and revisit that this year. But on it, it was a guy named Philippe, a Canadian photographer. He does a lot of high-end fashion work. He's phenomenal. There was a guy named Drew from I Drew That. Also another phenomenal, talented photographer, cosplay photographer. I've growing up the last 10 years just following his work and trying to mimic his work as much as I can. And I got the opportunity to learn from him. And then there was Patricia and a guy named Carlos. They were more the amateur and student level, and I was kind of more the intermediate level of it. And
Mm.
we just had a great session, just talking about cosplay photography, talking about our craft, just learning from each other. That's been my favorite interview so far. I've like learned so much from that. One interview, just being the host and putting together my own little master class of cosplay photographers, and it was amazing. It's my favorite thing that I've done so far, and I can't believe I've only done it twice.
So you're what's the next event for you with
That's literally what I was about to ask you that. I'm the host. I'm supposed to ask you that. No, but I got it. So for me, I have gigs this weekend, photography gigs, but that's not what you mean. I will be at Urban Nerd Con. That's at the end of April. I think it's April 26th to the 28th. I will be there covering press. I will be there doing a panel. I will be there interviewing all the Black excellence that's going to be there, both cosplayers and celebrities alike. And I'm sure I'm going to run into you doing the same thing.
shoot. Because we're gonna have to talk. I need to make sure that I have that scheduled because I'm on a assignment right now that's for something else. Yeah, I need to make sure I need to make sure that I'm on that. So
Yeah, we'll talk. We'll
that,
talk.
no, it's not next month in April. So next
Yes,
month.
in April. So about like 2 months away, almost 2 months away.
Okay. I constantly have to ask, keep saying what day it is because I usually work at night and then on the next day and then I'm like,
Preaching to the choir.
what is it? What
I'm
day?
surprised I'm not at work right now. Oh, it's my off day. That's the only reason why I'm not at work right now. But yeah, trust me. I don't understand how, like, first of all, if you know anybody from our audience out there that works third shift, those people are angels and they deserve all your
Might
gratitude because they
but
do the work you don't want to do in the middle
I
of the
might
night.
how to do it. It's so easy. Well, it was not really easy. It was just like for you to work first, and then you just like the sooner you go in, the sooner you get off. But the second shift, well, I don't want to get out of that. You were gonna ask me what the
Yeah, I
next
was gonna ask you, well, yeah, what's next for you? What you got coming up?
what's in March?
I don't know if there's anything major coming up in March. I need to go look into that now that
Yeah,
I have
but
time.
Nerd Con is in April.
April,
I need to
and
make
then
sure. I just
MomoCon is
got
in May.
I just got the my approval for MomoCon, so that's
Wait, you
that.
got yours already? All right, I need to get on that because I still
I
got to apply for
don't know
two.
if you were already because I thought about it and I'm like I don't know if I did it already, and so I had to fill mine out, and then my assistant, so he got his, and so we're that's out of the way. So I'm like, all right, I just need to make sure that I'm available to go. Now I gotta put in March, no, April, April. But I don't think anything is in March. But I'll check and see. But if it is, I'll you know me, I'll try and be in a place to be. Mostly it's been Georgia. I was going to do Camicon, but I ended up getting ATO comic convention, and I was like, oh, okay, well let's get it. So I did, and I am in the lab having to edit these videos. I thought I was going to finish one. I was attempting to finish one yesterday, but I was like, I'm not going to be able to finish it. And I'm like I'll get back on it probably tomorrow. Yeah, I don't think anything right now, but something's always popping up. Like conventions that I didn't even know about. Like Southern Fried Gaming Expo. A buddy of mine told me because he's a gamer. So he knew about it. I checked it out. Like, okay, cool. Let's shed some more light on that one. But anybody that's watching it, put it in the comments. There was one that I was going to go to that Wreck-It Ronnie was going to be at. I think she was at. I couldn't make it. Since I had some family issues. I missed that one. I think that one was in Augusta. I missed that one. I can't remember the name of it, but it was in Augusta. So yeah, basically been hitting up all the Georgia ones. But if anybody that's watching it that would like for me to be there, you included, that would like us to be press. If you can, I mean, if need be, you need to fly us out. I mean, this stuff is like not funded just yet to where I can just like, oh, I'll be there. Like, no, that's why it's been local. That's why it's been local. But creating an opportunity is just like show you like, hey, I mean, it's a good look for us to be there. Publicity, showing some love. Yeah, I can't think of anything besides nerd. You said NerdCon, right? Black
Yeah,
NerdCon.
the
Black NerdCon.
Urban Nerd Con.
Urban NerdCon. Correction, in April. Okay. So many plates that I'm trying to keep spinning. My head.
Thank you, everybody. This has been BLERDKAST. I gotta come up with a new outro for my podcast, but I'd like to thank my guest, Carnel Holley from Carnel Holley Pictures. You can check him out anywhere on social media. He is on YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Where else are you on the interwebs? Where else can people find you?
I mean, those are the major ones. I mean, just Google, I'll pop up. I mean, but those are the major. Thread. I'm doing some other stuff with Thread to differentiate from other social media. But for the most part, IG. I do some stuff on Twitter, doing some things on TikTok. So yeah.
All right, so yeah, just like you said, just Google his name, Carnel Holley
Wait,
Pictures, like the logo says behind him, and you'll
right.
find him everywhere. He does other interviews with other guests. He goes to cons like I do. You even do vlogs and things like that. So check him out. He makes some great content. He definitely interviews a lot more of celebrities than I do because he gets to go to more of the cons. But it's cool. I got you. I got you. I'm gonna match that energy. I got you.
Do it.
I'm gonna do it. Everywhere you at, I'm gonna be at. But this has been fun, man. This was a great interview. We're gonna you're gonna be on this on my podcast a lot because we got a lot of stuff to talk about. I still have your solo interview to do with you that we were supposed to do at a costume noir shoot that we never got to do. And just so many other things. But I can't wait to see you again. This has been fun. This has been fun. But this has been BLERDKAST Season 2. Season 2 of BLERDKAST. You can find BLERDKAST everywhere where you listen to your podcast, including Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music, Kindle Music, and a bunch of other places. Formerly Anchor. Anchor got bought by Spotify while I was on my hiatus, so I used to say Anchor. That's what tripped me up because I used to start off with Anchor first. But yeah, this has been BLERDKAST, and we're out of here.